Welcome in to another episode of my Dynasty Fantasy Football YouTube. Today, I have my 5 takeaway series covering 5 Dynasty topics from week 9. As always, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Let's go. So, unfortunately, the first takeaway is just devastating. Tucker Kraft, a torn ACL in the Packers week 9 game against the Panthers. And to be honest, this is just absolutely brutal. I think people who just look at it from a fantasy lens, maybe they're not, but they're underestimating what losing Kraft will do. As an example, kind of a comparison, when the 49ers lost George Kittle, the running game didn't move. Christian McCaffrey still got there as receiver, but the running game did not move. That is the type of player Tucker Kraft is. He is their best offensive player. This is a devastating loss. It will hurt everybody on the Packers, the whole offense, everybody. There's nothing good here. Unfortunately, no silver lining. This sucks. We have to see if he has other injuries, exactly the nature, whether he'll be back for week 1, maybe it'll be midseason. Now's not the time for that. But this is brutal. It's devastating. He had, 2 catches for 30 yards on 3 targets before he exited the game. It is what it is. After that, Romeo Doubs, I would say, would be the one who picked up the most slack. He had 7 catches for 91 yards on 10 targets after Kraft went out. And some of that obviously was with Kraft there, but he was the one who picked up the slack. No one else had more than 4 targets. So Romeo Doubs for now looks like he's the main beneficiary, but there are so many other problems. Matthew Golden left with shoulder issue. Dontavian Wicks hurt right now. Jayden Reed hurt right now. We don't know when he's going to be coming back. And then Christian Watson left with a concussion check. I think he's okay, hopefully, but I don't know what we're going to do moving forward. I would say the one thing is if Luke Musgrave has been dropped to waivers, he's obviously a must-add. He came in. He had 3 catches for 34 yards on 3 targets. Musgrave is not Kraft. He will not play every snap because he's a liability in the blocking game. He's not going to play 90% of snaps like Kraft. He'll be out there in a situational role. Think like Dalton Kincaid's role, except he's not as good as Dalton Kincaid. He'll be there. You'll be able to play Musgrave as a situational tight end 2. So that means he should be added in all dynasty leagues. Now, he doesn't have a lot of value to me. So if this is buy, sell, it's certainly not buy. I would only be considering selling Musgrave. But the whole situation sucks. And yeah, I really unfortunately don't have much of a silver lining for the Packers. This is a brutal loss for both fantasy and real life, losing Tucker Kraft. Now, let's move on to kind of a more mixed takeaway. The Bears offense had some really big highlights. And then there was one really bad low light, right? It was very weird. Now, they were playing the Bengals. Every team moves against the Bengals. So we don't want to get too carried away. Caleb Williams had a nice day. 20 of 34 for 280 yards, 3 touchdowns, 8.2 yards per 10, 5 carries, 53 yards. I think we've seen this year, Caleb Williams, he carved up the Cowboys and now the Bengals. The 2 worst defenses. In all the other games, he ranged from okay to meh to bad. I mean, he was a mix. Caleb Williams is fine. He's their franchise guy. I'm not saying bench Caleb Williams or that he's not the franchise quarterback. Has he shown that he's an elite quarterback in the NFL? No, I haven't seen that yet. But I think he's been better. He's been better. He's improved. He at least has carved up the bad defenses. He didn't do that last year. We've taken a step forward in year 2. I don't mind what I'm seeing from Caleb Williams. I think he's been, for the number 1 overall pick, maybe a disappointment, but overall, he's been fine. He's been totally fine. Now, Kyle Monangai, he stepped in, Swift out, Roshan out, and he had, 29 touches. He delivered almost 200 yards. He didn't score, but we know touchdowns are a little bit random, and he was good. DeAndre Swift had been playing well before he was injured. I do think Swift returns. I think this becomes a committee. So obviously, if People are saying Kyle Monangai is now the clear starter. I disagree with that. So he would be a sell for me. DJ Moore had a weird bounce. He got a passing touchdown, a rushing touchdown, and 6 targets and 4 catches. Okay. It was a nice game for him. He's there. He doesn't excite me. And I'm not excited for DJ Moore moving forward at all. Who I am excited for, Colston Loveland. Colston Loveland, 6 catches, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 7 targets. Cole Kmet went out early, and Loveland was really good, but he was also running more routes than Kmet even before Kmet went out with a concussion. I believe Colston Loveland's role breakout is real, as in he's really going to now have a role moving forward. He played the Bengals. I do not think Colston Loveland is a top 5 tight end rest of season or anything like that. But the role, I think this was so good that it's not going to be put back in the bottle. I think Colston Loveland is now their clear starter, the clear number 1 receiving tight end. He's going to have a role the rest of the season. He'll probably be a low-end, borderline tight end 1 rest of the season. That's great, and I'm happy to see that he produced something. Olamide Zacchaeus was filling in for Luther Burden. I don't know what's going on, why he had 8 targets. It's strange. I want to see what happens when Luther Burden gets back. If Luther Burden can step into this production, I'm curious. I'm getting a little nervous about Luther Burden. I'm not going to lie. Injury, it's just other players are playing the role. It's a little strange. So that's something I want to keep an eye on. But, Caleb Williams had so much production that everyone produced except for one glaring exception. Romeo Doubs, a goose egg, 0 on 3 targets. Yeah, not good. He dropped that touchdown in the end zone. Now the pass was bad. You could say maybe he should have caught it, maybe he shouldn't have, whatever. But he didn't catch it. He didn't really do anything. I don't know. For me, I'm still considering buying low on Romeo Doubs. I've talked about this on the Patreon a lot. Every wide receiver, except for like 4, are volatile. They're going to have bad games. I get it. It sucks. But you can't just say, well, I don't want this wide receiver after I had a bad game, because you can say that about almost every wide receiver in the NFL. I still like what I've seen from Romeo Doubs this year. He's still a buy for me. A lot of people on the Patreon have gotten Romeo Doubs at a very cheap price. And I'm sure this week on the Patreon, I'm going to be covering so many buy low opportunities for Romeo Doubs. Now, speaking of a player I talked about on the Patreon a lot, Brock Bowers. And I said, and I wrote it in the Patreon Discord this week, now that Brace Bowers is gone, Brock Bowers is going to be a league winner. He's going to be the player that you needed. It's like 2024 Puka Nacua all over again. There's an injury to a player we know is elite, not a super severe injury, but it lingers, it nags, and then they come back and immediately this is the league winner that you needed. Brock Bowers had the best PPR game of anyone the whole year. This is the best one, I believe. 12 catches, 127 yards, 3 touchdowns on 13 targets. Forget if it's tight end premium format. But that would even be even better, obviously. But he delivered. Yes, the game went to overtime. Yes, there was another touchdown in overtime. But he was dominating before the game went to overtime. He had 13 targets out of 38 for the team. That's over a third of them. We would love to see a wide receiver with a 33% target share. What about a tight end? We don't have those. Those don't exist. So, unfortunately, there's not really much to do here. But I hope you bought Bowers earlier. I begged and begged and begged people to do this. I did a video on here. I talked about it on the Patreon, I think more than any other player, to buy Brock Bowers. This is a player that had 153 targets as a rookie. Tight ends don't have 153 targets. That doesn't happen. That's not a thing you can buy. That's not a thing you can find. That doesn't exist ever. There's no other player who does that. You're not going to find that anywhere else. There is one player like that who did it as a 22-year-old rookie. This was an opportunity to get a league-winning dynasty asset at a non-league winning cost. I'm telling you, I talked about this more than any other player. Brock Bowers is elite. I never doubted him. I always was just waiting for him to come back healthy, and he came back and delivered big time. He looked just like the elite player I remember from 2024. If anything, he looked better because whatever Geno Smith is, he's a better quarterback than what Brock Bowers played with last year. So I'm expecting, obviously not 12 for 127 and 3 every week, but I am expecting Brock Bowers. I would have him ranked rest of season as the tight end 1 by a large margin, and he's the league winner that you needed. And that's the end of the story with Brock Bowers. Now, if you like my YouTube content, you should sign up for the Patreon. I'm offering a 50% discount off your first month at all tiers using code TylerYT50. You can sign up in the link in the top right corner, patreon.com/fantasy advice for access to the Patreon. You can get all my rankings, including my Dynasty rankings, weekly start sit, access to the Discord where I discuss everything about Dynasty, my write-ups. I do those about every single NFL game. Patreon-only videos, direct message fantasy advice, and the ability to ask in advance questions for the YouTube videos, which you'll see at the end of every video, including this one. Tiers begin at just $6 a month, $3 with that discount. If you want to know more about the Patreon, check out my why you should join the Patreon videos on the channel. They're on the homepage under Patreon promos. And again, like I talked about in the Brock Bowers segment, I cannot possibly cover every single thing on the YouTube channel. I'm probably not going to talk about players who are sitting on the bench on the YouTube that much, right? I'm not also going to talk about players who are out for the year already. I might talk about it when it happens, but I'm not going to keep talking about it. I'm going to talk about what's happening in the NFL season right now. So I'm not going to focus on everything on the YouTube. But if you want everything, I do cover everything. I cover everything on Patreon. I cover it all. I talk about every player. You can ask Dynasty Trade question about any player. We can go over any Dynasty team, rebuilding, competing, or whatever. And I do that all on the Patreon. That's where all the extra content is. Patreon.com/fantasy advice. Use code TylerYT50 for 50% off your first month. With that said, I'll move into my next topic. So this is probably the other biggest news from week 9. And I wanted to separate the two kind of depressing topics. So it wasn't all just depressing at the start of the video. But I mean, you don't want to watch the replay of the Jayden Daniels injury if you haven't. Suffered a dislocated left elbow in week 9. The x-rays were negative. His is a season-ending injury. People are saying, oh, he might come back. The Commanders are 3-6. He's not going to be 100% for multiple months. He might be able to play. It's the off arm. It's not his throwing arm. He's not coming back. The 3-6, he's going to be placed on IR. He's going to miss at least 4 games. Maybe they're not bringing him back if they're 3-8, 3-9, or whatever they are at that stage. And the offense was, to be honest, bad before he went out. Something has been wrong. I mean, just everything has gone wrong for the Commanders. Jayden Daniels kind of struggled, took some sacks. I mean, he was okay. He did add some rushing value. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, I think it's over. He's looked just awful, pedestrian at best. There was nothing there. Then there was the Eckler injury, the Brian Robinson trade. Now, that was the self-inflicted wound. Terry McLaurin has been a total non-factor. Deebo Samuel's fading away. And it just, everything went wrong. Luke McCaffrey was injured on the first play. He was out. McLaurin's out. Noah Brown has missed the whole year. So that's 3 receivers out. And then Deebo and Zach Ertz, I mean, they were fine. Like, they were okay, but they didn't really deliver in this game. Now, to be honest, I'm not really interested in the entire rest of the Commanders. The running backs, receivers, I'm not interested in any of those players. The only player I am interested in is Jayden Daniels himself. Let's be honest. Jayden Daniels is a high-end fantasy quarterback every time he takes the field. He is a good real-life quarterback. I know this year has been tough, but he's been injured. We cannot predict injuries. He's not injury-prone. He played all the games last year. He's a good player, and he was good for real life too. This is a franchise high-end quarterback. It's not even his throwing arm. There's not going to be any 2026 impact from this injury. This is a cornerstone dynasty asset. If you can get him at 75 cents on the dollar, I'm going to get him at 25 cents on the dollar. I'm sure I'm going to spend time in the Patreon this week with those whose teams are, losing. They're giving up on this year. I'm going to be like, Jayden Daniels, if the rebuilding targets was Malik Neighbors, Joe Burrow. But now this is even higher end of a rebuilding target. This is an even younger player than Joe Burrow, someone with more fantasy upside because of his legs. This is a player that I'm buying in on if you're rebuilding. It's absolutely necessary opportunity to try to take. And I'm sure, like I said, I'm going to spend a lot of time in the Patreon helping people do trades like that. Now, I want to close on a positive note, and we'll keep this one a little bit shorter. Drake London, monster game. He was great. 9 catches, 118 yards, 3 touchdowns on 14 targets. He was great. Absolutely great. He was playing against Christian Gonzalez, and he dominated that matchup. That's one of the best cornerbacks in the league, and he played really, really well. London is a great example of someone who, he has games like this, but London also has some disappearing acts, some inconsistencies. He is an alpha wide receiver. We know that. He is an alpha wide receiver. He's a great wide receiver. He's not quite, Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase or that level. He's the next group, the alpha wide receivers, maybe not the super alpha wide receiver, but he's an alpha wide receiver. He demands consistent targets. He delivers for fantasy most of the time. And we know what he is. This is what he is. He's capable of a game like this on any week, but it's probably going to happen once or twice a season, not 5 times in a season. Now, Michael Penix was kind of okay, but he was only really good using Drake London. He didn't really deliver overall. He got the ball to Drake London, but everything else was like a little disappointing. I mean, he averaged 6 yards per attempt. That's not great. And Michael Penix just doesn't deliver much as a runner. He had 2 carries for 19 yards. He was able to get the ball to Bijan Robinson in the passing game, and that's been a big thing for Penix this year. 10 targets for Bijan, 50 yards. Didn't do anything as a runner, really, but as a pass catcher, he was really good. Kyle Pitts and Darnell Mooney Pitts was okay. Mooney just totally vanished. But it does feel as if the Falcons could use a better wide receiver too than Darnell Mooney. It feels like that's their shortcoming. I feel like they need one more receiver. Now, my actionable thing to do here, I mean, London and Bijan are kind of so high end, it's hard to do anything. With Penix, I would say I'd look at the market on Michael Penix in Superflex. If some are saying, well, 3 touchdowns, he's really good, I'd temper that. I think Michael Penix is just okay. I think he's shown he can play at an NFL level. I don't think he's a total failure, but I haven't seen much high end from Michael Penix. I think he's okay. But if someone down the line thinks that Michael Penix is bad, the Falcons traded away their 2026 first. They are stuck with Michael Penix. And he's been fine. He's been fine since he took over the starter. He's been fine. I think Michael Penix is not Bryce Young, who's been horrible. Michael Penix has shown enough to me that I think he deserves a chance to be the starter in 2026, which he will be, which means in Dynasty Superflex, he has value. So if you can buy him at a cheap price, I'd be open to doing that. So that's kind of my take on Michael Penix. Okay, I'll do the Patreon questions and then I'll wrap up the show. Lots of top tier players have had pretty serious injuries. Any you're targeting more so than others? Any you're hard avoiding? Targeting, I mean, Jayden Daniels, just talked about him. Malik Neighbors, I would be targeting. I'm fine buying in on Malik Neighbors. I mean, hard avoiding the older ones. Obviously, Tyreek Hill, I'm not interested. Tucker Kraft, I think I have to see like exactly if there are other injuries going on. But yeah, I mean, sometimes they'll target injured players, sometimes not. Kind of depends. That's kind of my take on that. Is Vidal's breakout at all affecting expectations, production, or value of Hampton when Hampton comes back? Well, we saw that Vidal this week, this question was asked before this week, Vidal came out, was terrible against a really good matchup. So, no. Hampton is way better than Vidal. Vidal is competing to be Hampton's backup. So the answer to this question is no, in any way. Many say that the 27 class is so great and the 26 class is meh. How do we take advantage of that market trend? Buy 26 picks on the cheap. I mean, they're going to be valuable when we're doing the rookie class. No one liked this class. And then during the 2025 draft, you were able to trade the 2025 picks for things while you were on the clock. So trade for the 2026 picks. I mean, there's no other way to take advantage of it. Usually I recommend trading for the picks a year in advance. I found that trading for 2027 picks is difficult. So usually I would say that's a good strategy. Trade for picks in advance and get the time discount. Not doing that as much this year. I think I'm focusing more on trading for the 2026 picks at a cheaper value and maybe not trading for the 2027 picks in most situations because they're way overpriced. Is Jordan Love a sell? And who would be your trade target? Unfortunately, I think the Tucker Kraft injury is going to take any idea of selling Jordan Love off the table because I don't think people are going to be willing to pay up for Jordan Love because I think a lot of people are going to think that the offense is going to be bad without Tucker Kraft or at least middling at best. So is he a sell? I mean, not really, right? He's an obvious franchise quarterback who's not old, who's going to be a quarterback in a decent offense or decent to good for a long time. So in general, that type of player is not a sell. In terms of exactly how I would do it, that's, I cover that in the Patreon with the specific trade talking about that. But in general, no, Jordan Love is not a sell. Is Joe Flacco a fantasy quarterback one this year moving forward? I mean, yes, because the Bengals defense is so bad and he's going to have to throw all of this volume. I would say T. Higgins being out would probably lower his value a little just because defenses can sort of key in on Jamar Chase. Not that that's really going to stop Chase because it hasn't. But I do think that would matter. I do think that would cap the upside of Flacco at least a little. But I guess he might be. I don't know. Do I think Flacco gets a starting QB job next year if he doesn't retire? No. This is like giving 10 years older 2019 Jameis Winston a starting job. I mean, it's not been doing anything for the Bengals on the field. It's not, they're not winning. And I don't know. Are you really going to go into a year with a 41-year-old Joe Flacco saying, this is our answer? I don't think so. So I think this is it for Flacco. I think this is his last year. And I don't think he's going to get a starting quarterback job next year. Last question. What does this week do for JJ McCarthy's dynasty outlook? Is he a buy, sell, or hold? Okay. JJ McCarthy, I heard a lot of people saying JJ McCarthy was good. I don't know what game they watched. JJ McCarthy was not good. He was not terrible, but like he had no passing volume. He didn't deliver any passing volume. He didn't throw the ball. And when he did, he didn't do it very effectively. So yeah, it's great he scored a rushing touchdown. That helps his fantasy points. But I didn't see anything from JJ McCarthy that tells me he's any different from what I saw in college. A game manager. He was game manager in college, never had a lot of passing volume, and here we're doing it again. Game manager. As for whether that means he's a buy, sell, or hold, I think the rushing touchdown would make him more of a sell than a buy. But no, I haven't seen anything from JJ McCarthy to say that he's going to be great. Where have we seen that? When? In his college profile? No. Year one, didn't play. The 3 games he's played this year, I haven't seen that. So people are just saying, well, there's all this upside. I haven't seen any upside. So it's possible it could happen. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's also possible that JJ McCarthy is just the low-end starter backup level QB. And that's all he is. So I don't know. I've always kind of been out on JJ McCarthy. So hard for me to sell if I was never in, because that would have to mean I'd have JJ McCarthy. I don't know. I could look at it either way, though, I would say, on McCarthy. But I would say overall, I'm not as positive as most. I'm definitely more on the negative side with JJ McCarthy. If you liked the video, make sure to support the channel by subscribing. And don't forget to hit that new hype button to help the videos in the algorithm. Plus, hit that notifications bell so you can be notified about all my exciting content as it drops. Of course, if you want my best fantasy football advice, is available on the Patreon. Dynasty content year-round and starts at content in season. 50% discount at all tiers using code TylerYT50. You can sign up in the link, top right corner, patreon.com/fantasyadvice. Every sign up helps support my independent content. But once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all